With coronavirus now spreading from person to person within the UK, health officials are looking at a menu of options to delay the worst of the outbreak, including social distancing.
Social distancing.
Social distancing.
That's 2 metres by 2 metres.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a police message. If you're not exercising or doing any essential shopping, please go home.
And it's Super Chelsea! Come on, you Blues! Oh, mate.
Got that right as we started recording as well.
I'm in such a good... Literally, when this was happening, like, because I knew... I mean, people who were watching this back going, like, oh, why is he singing about that? But literally, the game was just finished about 10 minutes ago, and I was sitting there going, don't concede now because I'm going to be in such a bad mood for this podcast. And I was like, oh, and it was... I mean, my heart was racing, but... Oh, mate. But, yeah. What a win! But I mean,
you've got like the best start for a podcast ever.
Yeah,
you're so good.
That's all you can want, isn't it, mate? That's all you can want. I mean, I think the first thing is, congratulations to the Liverpool Football Club. I think, I think that's the way to start with this. They are crowned champions, first time in 30 years. And if we're being honest, Man City were sort of, they're still around simmering. I mean, everyone knew it was going to be Liverpool's title, but this year they've been, the best by, a country mile this year. They've been, incredible, from goalkeeper right through to, every position. If the team of the season came out and it was literally every Liverpool player, I don't think many people could sit there and argue against it. Could you really? You know what I mean?
Well, I agree with you, but I'm going to start with something completely different, I'm afraid. As basically all our listeners know, our parents and maybe Tom, when we're famous, we can quote back to this. But it's been this week, which is today is the 25th of June 2020. It's been a tough week being a Burnley fan. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately there are more important, well, I say unfortunately, in it the best way possible. Unfortunately, there are more important things than football. And unfortunately, one of I say Burnley fans, I say it in quoted comments, someone related to Burnley decided to bring that up again. And I thought we were way past it.
Yeah.
It was a tough week, starting off with that banner at the Etihad, and if you're watching this in the future, I don't know why you are, but if you're watching in the future, you'd see the reaction of the Burnley fans this week.
That video, mate. It got me emotional watching it. Actually,
it got me. Me and my dad were part of it. I'm really grateful. I'm really grateful to see my club, a club it's got such a bad reputation. I don't know why, but a club that's known for loving its players, loving its fans, loving its staff, unconditionally as well. Mm-hmm. It scares me that someone, and I heard Frank Sinclair say it this week on former Burnley player, a former Chelsea player as well.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, a former Chelsea player, Frank Sinclair, talking about he is he supports Chelsea, but he supports Burnley as well, and how offended and upset he was as a former BAME Burnley player to see that going ahead, see White Lives Matter on the end with Burnley on that thing, on that banner. And I hate to give it airtime, but you almost have to, don't you?
You do. It just shows that I think when you look at what has happened since the football has come back, whether people agree with this or not, I think it's sent out a huge message of what this whole thing is about, and the Black Lives Matter on the back of the shirts. Yeah. The first kneel down in the Aston Villa Sheffield United game, that first everyone down on their knee. That was probably the most powerful image you could ever set out, that we all unite together, that before we even kick a ball, that is what the thought on everyone's mind is. And
you say that, but one of the biggest things for me, like obviously Burnley's got a reputation for, I don't know why, but seeming so many Burnley legends like Adi Akinbaye, Carlisle, like players of black heritage and like proud Burnley players as well, not even just for the sake of saying. But there's like this stigma with Burnley and just having white players, which I just think is nonsense. I think it's just a thing to say to try and wind Burnley fans up. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, it is.
But
It is.
but to see, like, after the ridiculous incident on Monday night, which was, for anyone listening back, is the White Lives Matter sign going over the Etihad. And I refuse to say that it was linked to Burnley. I refuse, because I've seen the Burnley FC in the community in action, and it is honestly one of the most wonderful things I've ever seen, like inclusive things I've ever seen. And I found it offensive. I couldn't even be bothered to watch that Man City game because not because we were playing Man City, but because of what happened. And like you could see Ben Mee, I remember that picture of Ben Mee and Dwight McNeil just shaking their heads as the plane went past. And like, one, how did someone raise funds to do this? Obviously, has more money than mine. Two, how did a plane in an airport leave with that on the back of its plane? Like,
well,
there are
that's
so
the
many
whole thing
to
I
blame.
was thinking.
I'm shocked. There's so many people to blame at this. And for the record, like, if someone's listened to this in the future and still doesn't understand, like, I saw someone actually, it was a Burnley fan. I can't think what his name is, but he hosts on BBC 5 Live or whatever it is. I should know, but I don't know. But he said, whenever there's an incident, like let's just say the Manchester bombings, people go, oh, let's send our love to Manchester. Let's like say we care for Manchester, but they don't go, well, our city matters more, do they? They don't go, our city matters.
Exactly.
And like at the moment, like Black lives need the attention, so they matter as much as our lives do, as us do, as two white people. But as that happens, we don't go, well, our white lives matter, don't they? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, exactly.
But I know you do, but do you know, everyone else who doesn't understand, why don't you understand this? It's just common sense, surely.
Well, I mean, we discussed it on last week's one, the podcast we did, and this is what's such a shame, because you're sitting there and like, I feel like the Premier League was putting such a great message across. Like, you're seeing the videos of Raheem Sterling, what he's put out, and that video that they're airing before every Premier League game of the whole Black Lives Matter message, which I was like, is so powerful. Like, people like Will Smith, Samuel Jackson, Raheem Sterling, Marcus. I mean, huge people that have made such a difference to their communities and where they've come from. And it was just starting, and I feel like it was coming, like the Black Lives Matter on the back of the shirts, like I said, the kneeling down, and
it was starting to outdo like the All Lives Matters. Do you know what I mean?
It's idiots. So true. And I was sitting there, I was like, it's such a disappointment that one I wouldn't even call him a fan, one dinosaur feels that's
racist. One racist.
Well,
he's got pictures with Tommy Robinson. He's a racist. I'm not even.
There you go. And it's such a shame. But I have to admit, mate, I think the way that Burnley have handled it, but Ben Mee especially, like, I mean, he had to come out after that and took it on his shoulders to go, look, we're not going to talk about the football, not because we lost. I think even if they come out with a shock 1-0 win, I think he would even come out and said, look, football is irrelevant. The bigger picture is what has happened. And he came out and I think was a credit to not just the football club, but to the footballing community that night, Ben Mee. And I think
before you continue, this is not just like Ben Mee, who's pitched out for like 30 Burnley games. This is Ben Mee, who's been at Burnley for almost 10 years. Someone who is like probably seen as one of the most loved Burnley players in the last like 40 years. Someone who's got over almost 400 games for the club. Like, do you know what I mean? It's someone, if anyone knows the town, probably the only person who knows it more is probably Jay Rodriguez, who also came out the next day on radio and TV and said, this is not what Burnley's about. So it's not like some random, no, not random, I don't mean that, but like some player who isn't from the town. This is someone who loves the club, loves the town, loves the fans, and understands that this isn't that one person. And well, I reckon it's probably like 10 or 15 people who pitched in. They don't represent what Burnley stands for, or what the country stands for either. Like, you've got to understand, these are British people who obviously think a bit differently to how we think, how the country and the UK thinks at the moment. And sadly, there are people like, it could, unfortunately, I hate to say it, and maybe I'm a bit unbiased because I'm a Burnley fan, but it could have been any wacko from any club.
That is exactly it, and that is the point. There, unfortunately,
thing, isn't it?
It is scary because you look at, we had the incident last was it year before? I think it was last season with the Raheem Sterling, with the Chelsea fan. But the problem is that these people that are doing it, there's so many words you can use to describe these people that I'm not gonna even.
Not gonna lower themselves, because for them it's easy just to use a word.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
But like, this is the important thing, and yes, the message has to still be out there, but the also message out there is that we can't label every single fan and everyone around the club as being a racist, because that's not the case. It's unfortunately, every club has these horrible, despicable racists, and
I can't believe we even have to say that. That's so sad, isn't it?
But it's depressing. I mean, you look on. I mean, the worst place to look is Twitter. I mean, this is why I'm.
Well, you say that. You look on Facebook, mate. Honestly.
Well, that is also true. But like, I mean, this is what the scary thing is. We need to. This is where the Premier League needs to keep putting this. We need to keep putting this message out there.
It can't be lip service anymore. It has to be. Like, you're seeing it from not only the players. I don't mean for the first time, but for the first time in big numbers, you're seeing it from the fans.
It needs to be, and this is my opinion on it now. It needs to be a crime. It needs to be a crime, which is, in my opinion, prison sentence or something like that.
That's the thing. That's the thing. Saying, like, we don't have, like, in America, you have freedom of speech. We don't have that here. We have, but you can say White Lives Matter because that's your opinion, but the thing is, that has such undertones of hate speech and racism. And the thing is, look, I don't want to speculate, but from what I've seen online, I'm not even going to say his name because he's not worth the time. But the guy who organised this banner, he's looking at a charge, a police charge, because the stuff but unfortunately, it's for the. I say unfortunately, but it's for the stuff he's put on social media, not for the banner. But do you know what? That means people can fly these banners as much as they want, because it's seen as their opinion, not as a hate crime. And it is a hate crime, but these people, I mean, look at him. He's like, what, in his 40s, maybe late 30s?
Well, yeah, exactly. Disgusting.
He's not going to learn, is he? He's not going to learn. It makes me angry. Like, the fact this guy, do you know what? You've been to a few Burnley games. We've probably sat near him. Do you know what I mean? That's
the scary thing. You don't realise how close you are to some of these people.
No. Exactly. Do you know what? 10 years ago, just over 10 years ago, he probably celebrated legendary BAME Burnley player Adi Akinbaye scoring an equaliser at Stamford Bridge. Do you know, that's the worst bit about this, is that he probably loved that moment Adi Akinbaye put that ball in the net.
This is where it's just
trying to undermine black lives, and actually, I'm not even just saying black lives, BAME lives, like people who, like, as white people, we don't have to go through racial hate in our country. We are so lucky we don't have to, and he doesn't have, him especially, he doesn't have to in a very white populated area.
The sad thing is, mate, is that he's got what he wanted. I mean, he's not a Burnley fan. I doubt even if that's his message, the White Lives Matter thing. He just wanted to. He looks like one of these people that wants to just put his name out there, get everyone talking.
He wanted the reaction,
and he's got it.
Goes and join. Yeah, go on.
But he's got it, and that's what the sad thing is. And it's instead of this week, we should be sitting here going, look at the message. I mean, look at the message that we put out there. I'm proud of football. One idiot. Well, that's a nice way of putting it. But one idiot has, in my opinion, not tarnished the positive messages out there, but put a big black spot on the success that I believe it was until that moment.
But you say that, but let's look at the backlash from his actions. So apparently he spent £600 on this. On the other hand, Burnley came out and banned him and all his mates. And I'm going to call them his mates because anyone who had funded to that is his mate and is an absolute horrible person. And I mean, doesn't deserve to live a happy. I don't mean to say don't deserve to live a happy life, but you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
All the flags and banners. Well, I say all. A lot of the flags around banners around Turf Moor tonight and the night. What were you? The 25th of June, 2020. Sorry, not 2016. God, we've been 4 years off of that. They all were like one club for all, everyone against discrimination, Black Lives Matter. I'm not saying that wouldn't have happened anyway, but they were more on show tonight. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Burnley fans, like I'm talking proper Burnley fans, had raised about £5.5 for charity. There was that emotional video, as we were just talking about before going live, about Burnley fans all coming together and saying Black Lives Matter. And for all the idiots who are like, oh, but all lives matter, they do. All lives do matter. But at the moment, we need to focus on supporting Black lives. It's not rocket science. If it's rocket science, then you need to go back to school and educate yourselves. So all this backlash and all the airtime it's gotten and all the black people, all the BAME people we should be championing, all the, like, even in that video, Wade Elliott, a Burnley legend, got involved. Do you know what I mean?
It wasn't positive.
It was just, do you know what? He lost his job, this bloke. His girlfriend lost her job. And you're telling me, oh, because he can say White Lives Matter and try and stir a few actually reasonable people up. Well, I wouldn't say that was worth it if you were asking me.
Well,
so we can go and have a little loving with Tommy Robinson.
No, you just don't know how to describe something like this. You sit there and you just go. I mean, it's well, these people don't even deserve to be spoke about. If I'm being honest, they don't even deserve any sort of airtime, which is unfortunately what he's got because of the message that he's put across.
And this is what he wants, and but you can't ignore it, can you?
No, exactly. You can't ignore it because then you're basically going against what we've been doing, all the hard work that we put across it, and we've got to keep showing that these things do matter. If it had been ignored and just gone, oh, it's just one idiot, that's the same attitude that we've had for a long time now. Just going, if you see something like that, you get, oh, it's just an idiot, and that doesn't solve the problem. Solving the problem is dealing with these.
Yeah, do you know what? For the first time during, this is going to sound really weird to say, but during this, the Black Lives Matters, like I always get really upset seeing when people respond all lives matter, but maybe this was the eye opener for me and for a lot of Burnley fans and a lot of people from Burnley. But seeing this really hit home, and like I was donating to charity as this all kicked off, like with the unfortunate death of George Floyd. But I thought I was maybe I was ignorant to think that we were making progress, but it really hit home, and I can see to a lot of even non-Burnley fans online, it really hurt. To see a British football club's name linked with that statement. It's not even, do you know what? All lives matter is one thing, but like White Lives Matter is even. I don't mean to say even worse. Like, no one's saying White Lives don't matter. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that statement in my life.
It's just not the message that we need putting across right now.
Let me ask you something. Have you ever had racial abuse in your life?
Well, no, exactly.
No, exactly. It's just common sense, isn't it? And do you know the worst thing? This bloke probably, well, before he lost his job, and thankfully he did, but turns out he worked for, well, I hope I'm not wrong, but from what I've seen online, he worked for the airport or the flight company, you know what I mean, the plane company that sent this man.
Yeah.
He lost his job, but he's probably worked with BAME people. Do you know what I mean? These people. This is the thing. This is the thing that does not make sense to me. Burnley is not a it's predominantly white, but it's a multicultural town.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get. It just does not make sense to me.
Well,
but
people,
that's the thing.
They're just
like we're not the people who obviously need to have it explained to. That's the thing. That's the whole point of this. Like people like. I'm not even. Like I said earlier, I'm not going to mention his name because he's just not worth the time or the airtime. But people like this these are the people who need to be educated. And they're just never like someone who's like in their 40s, late 30s. They're just, if they're making these statements that age, they're just never going to be educated, and that's the sad thing.
That is the sad thing.
People like me and you, people like Ben Mee, people like Raheem Sterling. Do you know what? Every Premier League player, I'm certain, I can say that 99% of every fan base in the whole of England, and I'd say 99% of the UK, the world, possibly. Like, don't quote these stats; they're not proven. But I could say thinks the same.
Yes, surely. And I'd agree with that. And it's just, I mean, the sad thing is that there's some people that it's sad to say this, and we should be able to, but you can't change their mindsets. They're just people that are stuck in their ways that won't change. And it's what I think is more important is bringing up a generation that is going to not even, educate the generations that are going to come up through this world about what has happened and what the world that we need to live in now. That's the most important thing for me, because as sad and as gut-wrenching as it is for me to say this, there's some people like what the person that did this banner that you aren't going to change their mindset. The most important thing is bringing up the next generations and the generation after that and the generation after that and that and that and that is to promote a strong message of the society that we want to live in and that we should be living in. That is the most important thing for me right now is growing up with that and getting people to ask questions, because it's not a crime if you don't understand.
100%. You're so spot on.
If you're sitting there going, do you know what? And like, at the end of the day, there are some things that as a white person, you don't understand. And this is the problem. It's not a crime to sit there and speak to someone and go, can you just explain this for me? Because I'm struggling to understand. That is not a crime. This is where we need to educate ourselves as a society.
And that's the whole thing behind since the Black Lives Matters, the Black Lives Matter really opened up to the world with the killing of George Floyd, because it was around before that. Mm-hmm. Maybe people didn't open their eyes. I can feel a lot of people did, but people like even more open their eyes with the killing of George Floyd, and maybe because it came at such a huge time for the world as well with the coronavirus. But the huge point has been about, we don't mind, and I'm talking for someone who's very much in favour of the Black Lives Matter campaign and every charity that's with it. We don't mind if you don't understand, but you're willing to understand. Mm-hmm. But if you're not willing to understand, you are part of the problem. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, like you did say, Twitter you go and look at a lot of tweets to anything, and they say, if you're saying Black Lives Matter is political, you're part of the problem. It's not political. People's lives are not political.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, you might, if you sit here thinking the United Kingdom is scot-free, then you're wrong.
I've said that for years, mate.
Yeah, but maybe we are better off than some countries, maybe just about, but even that's a push on the good days. Do you know what I mean?
But also, I think what's important is also yes, this was a huge negative, and we've addressed this quite well, but also the positives of this weekend. Let's not have this idiot cloud over what the Premier League has done. That message was so. I mean, I did think every time I looked at the player shirt, I did think it was Tyler Blackett, like you said.
That's just a mental. Let's just get that out there. That was just a mental thing. Every time I saw, for that Sheffield United Villa game on the opening day of not the opening day, the return of the Premier League, I did think every player was Tyler Blackett. but no, you're right. So.
And the knee. I mean, the first game, that when they all went down on a knee, no, I didn't know that was going to happen. When they did that, I was like, you know what, the Premier League has smashed this. That was such.
Do you know the sad thing about taking the knee? I couldn't, if I'm honest, I couldn't tell you the history of like where taking the knee came from. But being a big NFL fan, I'd like to say, in 2016 or 2017, please don't quote me on that. I can barely remember when the year I was born. Colin Kaepernick, and then a really proficient NFL player during the national anthem of the USA, took the knee, and this is where the Black Lives Matter campaign really kicked off.
Mm-hmm.
It was such a huge moment. And a huge moment for not even just America, but for the world. Like I don't know enough to say this, but possibly players wouldn't be taking the knee without Colin Kaepernick taking the knee however many years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. And he hasn't played an NFL game since. That's how, I mean, we're not going to get into politics because that's not what we're about, but that's how huge that moment was. And I don't know if you saw what happened in NASCAR this week.
No.
What happened with that? Oh, well, just for anyone who's listening back, in NASCAR this week, so NASCAR has banned the Confederate flag. I don't know, like the Confederate flag, in my opinion, and obviously we're here, we're podcast hosts, we're here to give our opinions, is a sign of hate, sign of racism, and understandably, I can understand NASCAR. I can understand states in America using portions of the Confederate flag in their state flag.
Mm-hmm.
Using the Confederate flag itself, and in NASCAR that had been banned. But the one black, and again, I don't watch NASCAR, I'm not a big driving fan, but I believe the one current black NASCAR driver found about a couple of weeks after the Confederate flag had been banned, he'd found a noose, like a rope noose, in his garage. I mean, how I almost swore that. How appalling is that? Like,
I had no idea about that.
Honestly, mate, I can't believe that. I mean, imagine doing that. Imagine. I mean, I hate to say this, and I hope it doesn't get put the wrong way, but imagine Raheem Sterling getting a noose in his kit bag. It's shocking, isn't it?
Disgusting.
And I hate to say Raheem Sterling, because obviously I mean, I don't know about you, but I appreciate everything Raheem Sterling's doing.
I think he's one of the most incredible individuals this country has ever produced. If I'm being brutally honest, I think Marcus Rashford's another one. You know, just a credit to the black community, and not just the black community, but the community in general.
100%.
I mean, people that have such positive. I mean, I've said for years, Raheem Sterling is treated appallingly by the media.
Yeah.
But everything he does is brilliant. And I sit there and I go, every time he does not even something wrong, it's just he just scrutinised. And I'm like, Raheem Sterling is, I mean, I said this last week, the comparison between Harry Kane and Raheem Sterling. And one thing I thought was, you remember in the World Cup game between Croatia when Harry Kane had a shot and could have squared it to Sterling?
Mate, I never forgot
Can you
that moment.
imagine? Can you even imagine the reaction that would have got if that had been vice versa?
Mate, honestly, do you know what? I literally said to my dad earlier, I'll always never forgive Harry Kane for that moment, for other reasons. But yeah, no, you're spot on, 100% spot on. Like that, Rashford. No, sorry, not Rashford. Sorry, Sterling brought up that article about, I couldn't tell you what two players it was about, but it was two City youngsters in the newspaper. They both signed like really big deals for youngsters, and one of them was like about the white player buying his parents a house, or buying his mum a house and buying a brand new car, and the other one was about just taking all the black, unfortunately, the black player in, and I mean, I don't want to quote, but I believe this was the son, and I mean, we shouldn't be surprised, and was about the black player taking all the money for himself. I mean, literally, these are like 16, 17-year-old kids, younger than we are.
Oh, that's what the heart. I mean,
heartbreaking. Imagine if you had that said about you at 17, 18 years old.
Oh, mate, it'd be horrendous. I mean, this is where we've got to up our game as a country and that kind of thing. But
as a world, that's the sad thing. As a world, it's not even our country.
You are right.
World.
You are right. But I feel like we are going to get there. We will look back at this one day and go. I mean, the way that I look at it, and yes, I was speaking from a white person's opinion, and there may be some people from the black community that may disagree with what I'm saying, but this is where I maybe need to learn about some things as well. But I do believe when we have come not maybe a long way, but we've definitely made progress with racism. It's not gone, but we have made progress when you look at 20 years ago, 50 years ago, 70, and going back and back and back. We have made progress. Just we're at a stage now where we need to go, look, it's not about progress anymore. It's about getting this gone, because it shouldn't even be a debate. It shouldn't even be something going, well, he's just a bit of a, no. This is where we need to knuckle down on this now. And don't get me wrong, I think the Premier League is doing a good message. And I mean, we'd be sitting here now. It's such a shame that happened with the Burnley thing, because we'd be sitting here right now going, what a positive message, which we should be doing. And this is where these people have won. They're winning because this is all everyone's talking about, and not
they're winning. They're winning because I 100% agree with you. The progress that we've made in since my parents were kids and my grandparents were kids, but equally, we look at it now. Like 10 years ago, we would have gone, God, we made amazing progress. But now, looking at, I don't know if you agree, but looking at it, it's just baby steps, isn't it? Like, it seems so obvious. Like, these are the obvious steps to take. But for us, it's obvious. But for God knows how many percentage of the population, it's not obvious steps.
No.
I mean, I don't. Okay. I mean, we spoke about it for over half an hour already, and we've got to understand, for every bad apple, and I mean, bad apple is an understatement. This guy is horrible, and I'll happily say he's a racist, discriminative person, and I've put it all over my social media. I do not associate him with my football club.
No.
And neither does, and I'll happily say this, 99.9% of the fan base. But like we said, he is one of what there must be at least. I would say there's 100,000 Burnley fans in this world. that is a very, unfortunately, it's still a percentage, but it's a small percentage. And we saw a very small community-based football club come together. And we're not even just talking, as much as people like Twitter trolls would love to say, a very white Brexit-based, and I hate that saying, Brexit-based fan base. We're talking a very open, a very multicultural fan base, a BAME fan base come together, support the club, show the real, true representation of my lifelong football team. And I'm wearing the badge. Monday, I was wearing this badge with shame.
Yeah.
Today, Thursday, I'm wearing this badge, not just because we won, because we became a team who came together and lived up to their reputation of being a fans team.
Yeah,
like, with
exactly.
pride.
Burnley should be very proud of themselves this week.
It makes me emotional talking about it, but I'm very proud of my team, and I've always been proud of it. But this day, like, I've gone from being the most embarrassed to probably like the most proud overnight. Like seeing, just going on Twitter every day and seeing all these Burnley fans, like Burnley fans I've never even bloody heard of, like saying, oh, I didn't even know there was a Burnley fan on BBC Radio 5 Live or whatever that rubbish is called. Do you know what I mean? And them calling out this idiot. And again, like I said, we've given him way too much airtime. And just saying, we stand against you. We don't just love all players, staff and fans of our club. We love everyone who steps foot on Turf Moor, everyone who steps foot in our town, everyone who steps foot in our country.
Yeah.
And we only judge you because of the actions you make, not because of the colour of your skin, not because of your religion, not because of where you were born. We just love you for who you are. And Burnley FC will always believe in that. And I'm sure every single club in the UK, it doesn't matter if you support Bristol Rovers or FC United of Manchester or Falkirk, I don't know, name a team, David, any team. But exactly. Every one of those people is against discrimination. And it's when we say one club for all, we don't mean just Burnley, just Brentford, just Falkirk. We mean every club for every person. Yeah. It doesn't matter who you are, you can support whatever team you love. And that's how it should be for the rest of eternity. And if it isn't, we're doing something wrong.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that is the best. I think that you've summed it up all perfectly there, mate. I think that's absolutely. And you should be very proud of your club. You should be, especially now Phil Bardsley signed a new contract as well.
Yeah, mate. Honestly, if we're going back to football, you know things are good. We've won 1-0. Burnley's back to normal, and Phil Bardsley's signed.
Oh, mate. I mean, it's been literally like this. I have to be honest. Like when it came back, I mean, the first game was so drab and boring. I was like, I've waited.
You're telling me we lost, believe 5-0, and we had bloody racists going for us.
But I mean, I have to say this. I think the first game was so drab and boring. I mean, it was just the Hawkeye thing that went wrong in that game, and that's all everyone talked about. But in terms of the football, I mean, I can only talk about the games that I've watched, but it did remind me a bit of the Bundesliga when it came back, because of, I think everyone was like, the first 20 minutes of every game, I think, has been, you know, a bit tentative, a bit slow. Yeah. It's been, I said this because it's getting used to not having the fans there. It's getting used to being back. It's getting used to
the new normal as well. Like, I mean, watching the bloody Watford players come out from, like, they had, Watford are coming out the tunnel now, but actually they were coming out from like a different part of the stadium completely.
I mean, what did you make of your performance today, man? Because those of you know that you've just beaten Watford.
Do you know what? Jill, obviously, okay, I'm afraid we have to go back to it. Monday night when we played Man City was appalling, like on and off the field, and like the banner appalling, the like relationship between our manager and the board appalling, the appearances on the pitch atrocious. Honestly, it was just like not worth turning. And I get we've never had a big squad in my lifetime.
I mean,
So-
2 keepers on the bench, mate.
I know. The coronavirus was never going to be any favours to us, especially coming out of playing our best football probably in Premier League history. And then to see, and I mean, I'll own up to saying I've never been Jeff Hendrick's biggest fan, but someone who's been ever present in the team since 2016 leave and refuse to train. Understandably, like, I don't disagree with any of these players who refuse to train. If you're not going to get paid, well, you're going to get paid, but if you're not going to play on the whole season, what's the point? Like, why would you sign a contract at the end of the season if you might get injured, ruining a move to another club, like especially when AC Milan are calling? Unless Burnley, I don't know, who would choose Burnley over AC Milan? I'm not sure. But then to see Aaron Lennon as well, and at the time it was Phil Bardsley, especially when Matt Lowton had fallen out of place. Monday night was a horror show. It was awful. Like, we'd lost 5-0 to City before, but I mean, we'd been up for it. We'd been up for the 5-0 lose, but we didn't create anything. And I mean, the commentators were quick to tell us that. But to come out today, the first half, we were fantastic. I mean, I doubt anyone watched us over the Arsenal game. But we were fantastic. Second half, we were a bit shaky. I mean, Watford, this is a weird thing. Watford needed to win. They had no choice really but to win because they're just going to be bought into it. There's so many games left. They had no choice but to win. And they just didn't look that interested. They had a few chances for the first 20 minutes of the second half. But then after that, we could have easily wrapped up the game 2 or 3-0. But I don't know. I thought if I was Watford, my dad said this earlier. If he was a Watford fan, he would have been really disappointed with the team because we were there for the taking. The week we'd had the disillusion all over the club, we were there for the taking. But actually, the opposite happened. We turned out for the team and for the club, for the fans, the real fans. Rodriguez, brilliant. He wears the Burnley badge on his sleeve. And I thought it was I thought a few players were a bit shaky, didn't look fit. Brownhill didn't look fit, hadn't played for a while. Me was a bit shaky. Taylor just doesn't look ready. Lowton has put on the pounds, but I thought he played pretty well, to be fair. But yeah, I'm thrilled. Honestly, if a club ever needed a win more, it was us today.
Oh my gosh, yeah, absolutely.
I've gone, like I said, a million times now, and we're like 42 minutes in. I swear I've said it about 15 times. I'd gone from being embarrassed to wear my Burnley shirt to being really proud to wear it tonight. So
no, literally, and we won as well. We won.
I was going to say, more importantly, someone won the league tonight.
Well, I have to be honest with you there, mate. You can't really start anywhere else. I think.
It was a bit of a bittersweet for you because if you'd picked up points, you were never going to get the news about you.
Well, do you know what? You get to a point like when we were playing. I always think back to when there's 2 teams who won the league for now. Thinking back to that game against Tottenham, like when we were we had nothing to play for. We were having we were mid-table, so it was a bit different then because we had nothing to play for, and also we were like, we don't want bloody Tottenham winning this league. We were like, in the worst season that we've ever had, what would top off worst was Tottenham winning it, and also, I think everyone that season, apart from the Tottenham fans, I think everyone that season wanted Leicester to win it. I think it was because it was just a perfect fairy tale.
You know what? I don't think anyone even thought Tottenham could actually win it either. That's the stupid thing.
Well,
like, you watch Premier League years back, and they build it up like Tottenham could have actually won it, but there was no chance, was there?
Well,
there's more chance Arsenal could have won it that season.
That is true, but like you go back to it and you go, we had nothing to play for. And we were like going, look, we don't want Tottenham winning this league. We are going to go and win it, and that kind of thing. So it was a bit different then. But tonight, you know what? I was sitting there going,
it was a must-win for you.
That is the point. Like, yes, it meant Liverpool won the league, and yes, speaking on above the Chelsea fan, we don't like Liverpool, and like so
No one likes them.
it was like, apart from the ones watching this podcast. Like I was sitting there going, do you know what? This game is much too big to be worried about Liverpool winning it. We need to win it to stay 5 points clear in the 4th place. Because, and I refer back to it, Timo Werner, baby! We've got some world-class footballers coming into our squad next year, and potentially even more to come. We cannot, with the players that we've got coming in, the players that we're probably trying to attract, cannot finish outside the Champions League. It would be embarrassing. So tonight I was literally like, do you know what? Liverpool might win it, but they're going to win it anyway. So it's not.
Yeah, exactly.
We didn't win Liverpool that league tonight. That was Liverpool have won it. It was just a turn of results. Although I was speaking to one of my mates who was saying they're like, oh, you've got to win it for us tonight. You've got to win it for us tonight. But I was sitting there going,
surely you want to win it at the Etihad.
Well, this is what I said. I was like, surely, because every time that we've won the league, we've never won it due to another team getting a result.
You won it with your fans, didn't you?
Exactly.
It doesn't matter home or away, but you've won it with your fans.
And I think because I remember speaking to a Leicester fan when I was up touring around that area, like over Christmas time, and I was talking to him about football and things like that, and I was talking to him about the title win. And I said, that must have been the best thing. And he said, do you know what? The only thing, if there was going to be a tiny little black spot on that season, it would be that we didn't actually technically win it for ourselves. And I feel like you go through emotions of 90 minutes and then the game finishes and the fans roar because you've actually officially done it.
Yeah.
Because I was speaking to a Liverpool fan today and he was going, you better win tonight. And I was like, surely you'd rather us not win. Lose.
Yeah, like winning the league winning the league isn't like, it's not like a 50-50. It's a foregone conclusion, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It's just I know they're not going to win it in front of their fans, which is unfortunate. But surely you'd rather win it where your players can go nuts.
Yeah. I mean, you can
I know it's a stupid comparison. No, it isn't for me. But when we won the championship title on the last day of the season in 2016, I wouldn't there was a chance we could have won it a couple of days before if Brighton had lost.
Yeah.
But I didn't want that. I want us to win it where like me and my dad could have enjoyed it, watching all the fans and all the players celebrate with the fans. I know it sounds stupid because it's like the drop below, but it's in our opinion, it's a huge trophy. And like that, do you know what? Liverpool might never win the league in some people's lifetime again. The same way, I don't think Burnley will ever win the championship in our lifetime again. It was incredible. Like that moment, I could have cried because I don't. Do you know what I mean? It sounds stupid, but it was incredible
that raw emotion
of that moment
of having it there and then. Like when we won the league for the first time, like actually winning it.
But winning the Premier League, like you would have reacted the same as to winning League One. Do you know what I mean? Like winning a league title, being the best team in that league is unbelievable.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And when we won it in 2016, again, I know this is the most stupid comparison to the Premier League ever, but that was the first time in my life I was like, we are the best team. Do you know what I mean? We are the, I hate to swear, but we are the bollocks. Like we were brilliant that season and we got a trophy to celebrate being the best team. And I'm sure that's how you felt after all your Premier League wins. And that's that's why the Premier League is so different. And any English league is so different to Germany, Spain, Italy, because anyone could win that league. And not anyone couldn't, but
when you look in the leagues, and I mean when you look in the Bundesliga, it's Bayern Munich usually win it. I mean, Spain, it's either Real Madrid or Barcelona. Atletico flirt a bit, but they've never really consistently won it. You look into Italy at the moment, it's Juventus. This is the one league where you like, and like, I did feel for Man City fans a little bit because a lot of people are starting to go, oh, Man City, because they've got all this money and they've got all these world-class players, they're going to turn the Premier League into, La Liga and things like that, where only one team wins it. And
I mean, it took me a while to realise this, but that's how the Premier League and the shock factor started, with Chelsea getting their millions.
Exactly.
I mean, I used to hate Chelsea and City for their millions, but now I really appreciate how much it's brought to the Premier League. And that's stupid to say.
And Liverpool,
as a Burnley fan.
And Liverpool, I mean, they this season they fully deserve it. But do you know what I love about what Liverpool have done is that Klopp's come in and he's built a team. When he came in, he had trash I love him on FIFA, but he had Jonjo Shelvey and Jay Spearing and
Adam Lallana,
Alberto Moreno, and all these Mignolet, useless.
Wait, did Enrique play under Klopp?
I think he may have done that, actually.
Poor guy.
All this trash that he had, and this is where you have to look at the board, and they've gone, look, this may take a long time, and we may have to go through a few years of pain, because Klopp's first few seasons, he wasn't anything.
Well, you never forget that celebration against West Brom, will you? The 2-2 draw.
No, exactly.
Or 1-1 draw, whatever it was.
But they've stuck by him, and then they had to make, and this would have been a tough decision at the time, to go, we're going to let our best player at the time, Coutinho, go. Because they got
a decision that is. What a decision.
Well, when you look at it, it's turned out for the best. But at the time, it was happening, that's like us at the moment, from a Chelsea fan's point of view, that's like us selling N'Golo Kante, our best player. But he's gone, and Coutinho's not pulled up any trees, and he's gone. And I don't think there's any shame in failing at Barcelona, because there's loads of people that have done it.
I think the only thing he has done since going is pulling up trees.
Well, yes. But this is where the good owners, they didn't go, oh, look at all this money we've got. We've got more than enough, because Coutinho, when he went, I mean, if we're speaking on it from a level-headed football point of view, £70 million player, tops. And they got 140 million for him, but they didn't go, well, we'll just give Klopp 70 because that's what we should have got for him. They were like, no, we'll give you 140. We're going to give you all that money. And yes, they had a lot of money to spend it. And I go back to this with Man City and how Guardiola's come in and changed their way of spending. They didn't just go and buy what they thought was the best. He went and said, look, who's the best centre-back? I mean, Van Dijk at Southampton. He could have easily have gone, maybe...
It wasn't even the best centre-back in the world. It was the best centre-back who would suit Klopp's football.
Exactly, because he could have easily have gone, I could go and get a Koulibaly. And don't get me wrong, I think Koulibaly's a good player, but Koulibaly could easily come over Klopp.
At all.
Exactly, and so they were like, well, go and get Van Dijk. And for me, he's turned into the best centre-back in the world. He was like, we'll go and buy a keeper. He didn't go and he didn't do what we did and go, well, that keeper's up and coming.
Yeah,
he was like, do you know what? I need the best.
Been put in a newspaper a few times.
He was like, I need the best right now. That guy Alisson had the best record at the moment. Yes, he doesn't play for the most flattering club, and no disrespect to Roma fans if they're listening. Not that I don't think they will be, but
all the Roma ultras,
all the Roma fans are going to get on my back now. They're going to be typing in the comments. But it was like, I'm going to go and get the guy who's the best at the moment. He's brought in Alisson, and I personally don't think he's the best in the world, but he is one of the best. And he's a quality keeper, and they spent the money wisely. But this is where you get your owners are so, important, and that is what Liverpool. Klopp is the mastermind behind Liverpool. He's gone in and...
Wait, here's a question for you. Is Klopp currently the best club manager in the world? Oh, I've caught you, haven't I? I caught you off guard.
The thing is, I would say yes, but I think a lot of people would say yes because he's won the Premier League. That is not my reasoning as
How
to
weird
why.
is that to say though? Like Liverpool have won the Premier League as of an hour and a half, hour and 26 minutes ago.
I mean, to be honest, like they beat Tottenham in the Champions League final, so they sort of saved my blushes there for my best mate. So I'll always thank them for that. But I wouldn't say Klopp. I would say Klopp's the best manager in the world, but not because he's won the league. You know why I would say it is because I think as a general, and I don't want to slag off football fans here, but we can sometimes be blinded by just singular achievements.
Yeah, I agree.
And just go, oh, that's happened. He's obviously the best, and that's not necessarily the case. But like, when you look at what he has done with Liverpool, he came in, as I said, with trash, and he didn't just go, look, I want 300 million now to spend. Give me all that money, and I'll build a team now. He was like,
if we carry on, can I give you like this happens all the way down the football pyramid? Like this view of your achievements can be misleading, because I've said this for years. I think Eddie Howe is an absolute fraud. But you look at what Eddie Howe was, believe it or not, Burnley manager for unfortunately a year of my life, and he had trash. I'm not even gonna. I don't think me on Football Manager could have got that team promoted. But Sean Dyche, and I don't care what anyone says about Sean Dyche, that guy is a legend. He got that team with possibly one or two additions promoted. Not only he got them promoted, he got them safe that season, and we were basically down. We could have been relegated if we stuck with Eddie Howe. But because Eddie Howe went back to this club that adored him and had a rich owner, like believe it or not, Bournemouth have a rich owner, and got them promoted, and he was up for LMA Manager of the Decade. And look at him now; he's on the edge of being sacked.
Well, I mean,
anyway, go back to Klopp, like who deserves all the praise at the moment. Not
oh my gosh, yeah, but you had to get Sean Dyche in there. But I mean, we will talk about it in a bit because I've talked about owners and things like that. But like, I would say he's the best. I don't get me.
Okay,
personally,
better than Zidane.
Well, I would say he's better than Zidane because I
don't think Zidane could do what Klopp has done. But no. I think Klopp could do what Zidane's done.
Well, and this is what I mean. Like sometimes, like, and for those of you who don't know, I've said this for a long time now. I will never knock Guardiola's achievements, but I hate watching his football because it is so boring. Like they will go 2-0 up, and it will just be pass, which. If you're analysing football, is a joy to watch. If you're a budding coach, he is a joy to watch. But as a neutral, you sit there and go, "Oh, this is so." Like I always remember going. This is going back to like over the Christmas period. They beat Aston Villa 6-1. I remember this.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting there going, "They've scored 6 goals, and yet I'm literally sitting here falling asleep." Whereas I've watched Liverpool this season at times and last season, because actually, unpopular opinion, I think Liverpool played better last season than they did this season.
But, yeah, I actually agree with you.
But like, Klopp can win 1-0 with Liverpool, and it'll be more entertaining than watching Guardiola win 6-0 with Man City.
Watching City play tonight, obviously having a half City family. It's quite controversial, but I said in a tough Premier League season, I back Klopp to scrap a 1-0 win. I would never back Guardiola to scrap a 1-0 win. I would scrap. Exactly. That's the difference. Okay, Mancini scrapped wins. He scrapped wins for a living. Pellegrini, he passed the ball around for a living, and it was horrendous. But Guardiola, it's either you're going to pass the ball in the back of the net or shoot from miles out, or we're not going to score a goal. Do you know what I mean? If you're playing bad under Guardiola, there is no plan B. Whereas when City first won the league under Mancini, there was a plan A, B and C.
I actually agree with you with that. I've said there's sometimes, because of the way Man City play, you get so many teams that sit back. Because
And do you know what? Actually, under Lampard at Chelsea, you can see there is a obvious plan A. There's a plan B, and it might not be perfect yet. It's definitely not perfect yet.
oh gosh, no,
But there's a plan A, B. But the plan A and B, C, they changed constantly. So sometimes plan A is get the ball to Giroud, but sometimes plan A is get the ball to Pulisic. Do you know what I mean? Whereas Liverpool, it's get the ball to Salah or get the ball to Mane.
And I think when you look at the way City played tonight, the mistakes that they made.
It was so un-Guardiola-like, wasn't it?
Well, this is what I mean, but it's because they're literally like, we just need to like play a pointless pass. Like Mendy was passing that to Gundogan because he was like, oh, this is how we need to play. And they fucked up. And Pulisic bailed on it, ran through. And I'm sorry, don't get me wrong. I think when Edison's on his game, he is, unbelievable to watch. But
he was really poor tonight, wasn't he?
But and then you think back to before the lockdown, the Man United goal.
Yeah.
It's sometimes City's greatest strength is their biggest weakness. And I've said this about Edison for so long. When it's going well for him, he looks the dog's bollocks. But when sometimes he'll overplay it. And I've said this for years, I would rather have a prime, David Seaman, Petr Cech, Peter Schmeichel over Edison. I know Man City fans love him. Don't get me wrong. I think Edison is a quality goalkeeper. But
you're saying this.
My goal, I'd sit there shitting myself every time.
But you're saying this, but I also think, and you saw this a lot last season from Alisson. I believe the same of Alisson. He has the capability of really messing up, like big time. And maybe that's because sometimes he has Lovren in front of him.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think they're both top quality keepers, but I can't hand on heart say they're world class keepers. I just see too many faults in their play to be like they are up with the Ter Stegens and Oblaks and those two. I can't say they're anywhere near them really. They just play for teams that don't come up. Like for once this season, I say for once this season, but for the time City come up against a lot of attack, like against Wolves and against Chelsea tonight, they took on a lot of shots and Edison just couldn't deal with it. Whereas you look at Oblak, he comes up against there's no denying that when Atletico played big teams like Liverpool, Madrid, Barcelona, he holds that net like nobody else. Do you know what I mean? Ter Stegen, Barcelona's defence has been appalling for God knows how long.
Oh, yeah.
And he's held that goal like nobody else. I can't say the same about Neuer at the moment. Like watching him just run out for these ridiculous balls like Edison is at the moment. It's just appalling compared to these two world-class keepers.
This is where a goalkeeper and I hate that we're talking about goalkeepers again, but like
episode 2, we love a goalkeeper again.
We love a goalkeeper again. But like this is where, this is why I want us to go and get Nick Pope, because a goalkeeper like Nick Pope,
he was a bit shaky today.
That may be, but a goalkeeper like Nick Pope is frowned upon because he's not sexy. And unfortunately, this is due to Guardiola, because this was Guardiola's thing that he brought in. The goalkeepers, they can't just be brilliant shot stoppers now. They have to be sexy. They have to be good on the ball. They have to be able to play the ball out from the back. And that, unfortunately, is due to the style of play. But give me a prime Petr Cech, a prime David Seaman, a prime Peter Schmeichel any day of the week over an Edison or an Alisson. And this is why, in years to come, because Edison and Alisson will be here for the long haul, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. They're City and Liverpool through and through, aren't they?
They do deserve to be hailed as the top Premier League goalkeeper.
And changing the game. They've changed the goalkeeping game for good.
Oh, 100%. But they will never be, for me, the best of the best, because there's so many. And yes, Cech and Schmeichel and Seaman made errors. There's not a player in the world of football that hasn't made a mistake on a football pitch. But
Right.
I would trust. I mean, I've said this for years. The goalkeeper that I trusted them, not necessarily trust the most because he wasn't my team. But if you would say you can have any keeper from however long has been in football to go into your team, my number one choice would always be David Seaman, because he is safe hands.
Well, you say that. My number one choice would always be Van der Sar. He was the definition of keeping the ball out no matter what. Do you know what I mean? He was unbelievable. But we talk about, like, I don't think Ederson and Alisson are coachable. I think they've got their style of play, and that's how they're going to play. Whereas
Down to Guardiola, doesn't it? And
yeah, but you look at the flick at not Barcelona, Bayern Munich with Neuer. He's just the whole Bayern Munich team. He's turned around their style of play completely. Like, Neuer has toned down his style of play amazingly, and he looks like a different goalkeeper now. Like, he was honestly probably the best goalkeeper 2012 to 15 easily. Had a few off years, and now he looks world class again. And then you look at what's his name? What's the Dortmund manager? Favre, or whatever his name is. He's turned Berkey into a top class goalkeeper, if you ask me. I mean, their defense is awful, but I think if you put like Hans Flick with Ederson, I don't think you're going to get the same results. I don't think Ederson and Alisson are coachable, whereas probably Cech, Van der Sar, even De Gea, Ter Stegen, Neuer, Berkey, loads of goalkeepers. I think they're coachable into playing how these managers want to play. Whereas I think if Alisson and Ederson swapped, I think they would just have traumatic times.
Yeah, I actually genuinely agree with that. But I mean, you go back to that style and that kind of, that's where I do go sometimes. The thing that makes me doubt Guardiola is that when actually a team goes for him, he hasn't got a second answer.
Completely not.
You look at Klopp, they have won in every style you can think of this year. They've won 5s and 6s. They've won ugly. They've won where they've had, like, the other game against Everton. Like, yes, Everton were the better team. Yes, Everton deserved to win the game. But and this is where the results are the most important thing in football. It doesn't matter how well you played. It's that top left score that is the thing that matters.
Yeah.
The other night when Everton were all over them, did they win the game? No, they didn't, because Liverpool stuck in. Yes, Everton had poor finishing, but Liverpool stuck in and went, do you know what? We're not up for this game. We've just got to accept the draw. And they're in a position where they don't have to give a shit about winning. They're just going, look, it will happen. We just got to wait for it to happen, and it will happen. But they grinded it out. They grinded out a draw in a game that they weren't even threatening the whole game.
No,
and
they didn't even get out of fifth gear, did they?
And that is what is so good about Klopp. And it's not a fluke that they've only lost one game this season. That is because he has got them well drilled, well oiled. And yes, they haven't had the problems of injuries that other teams may have had. But you need
that to win the Premier League. You need that luck.
But Alisson was out at the start of the season. Adrian came in and they won all their games. And then you look at
God knows how.
If Matip gets injured, Gomez comes in and has a brilliant game. You look in their midfield. If Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain is out, Milner comes in, does a stellar job. Keita, I think the other night Keita played really, really well. I think Minamino comes in if Salah's out and that kind of thing.
I thought Minamino played really well against Everton. I don't know why he came off.
And this is what I mean. You look at, and even to last season, when do you remember when Mum came up to London? We were watching the Liverpool Man United game. Man United got an equaliser. Who came on and won the game for Liverpool? It was Shaqiri.
Yeah, exactly.
They have players that Klopp has just installed going, it doesn't matter who's playing, the result is the same. Yes, I mean, I've said this. You look at every Premier League team that's ever won the league, you can always name the starting 11. You look back to Chelsea teams in the past, Leicester teams in the past, Man United teams in the past, you can always name their 1 to 11 because that is the team that wins you the league. Your squad is so important. That is where Klopp has got them, well oiled. There's no, Origi. Origi reminds me so much of Batshuayi.
Honestly.
Because, the difference is that if we need Batshuayi to play, like he did this season at Manchester United, he's not up for it. He's like, I'm just going to, I'm playing a game. I'm actually playing this week. Well, if I score, I score. If I don't, I don't. Origi comes on. He came on in the Champions League final and scored. He didn't sit there and go, well, if it happens, it happens. This is what I mean. Klopp,
okay, this is going to be the weirdest comparison ever. But Klopp put the same belief as, I'm going to start with it. Sean Dyche put into Burnley. Chris Wilder put into Sheffield United. Neil Warnock put into Cardiff. Neil Warnock put into every bloody team he ever managed. There's that belief of, look at the team. Some of the teams that have come up to the Premier League recently. Burnley, we were tipped to finish 2014 Burnley. We were tipped to finish in the bottom 3. Dyche put that belief in them. Cardiff, tipped to finish in the bottom 3. Neil Warnock put their belief in them. Sheffield United, tipped to finish in the bottom 3. They put their belief in them. I could name millions of managers. Brendan Rodgers, Swansea, tipped to finish in the bottom, put them in the Premier League.
And even if you go back to Steve Coppell, Reading.
Yeah, well, we don't talk about Steve Coppell because he's a person I don't like. But do you know what I mean? Like, Klopp has put that belief into Liverpool that they've never had. They haven't had under their resurgence in Dalglish. They didn't have it. I can't believe ever anyone had it under Hodgson. Didn't have it under. They almost had it under Rodgers, but we're seeing that in Rodgers at the moment. He's a bit of a bottler. But under Klopp, we've seen it with every team he's managed. Mine's unbelievable promotion. Bit similar to what I've just said. Tipped to go down, finished in the promotion spots, then finished mid-table. Then he goes to Dortmund, wins the title, gets to a Champions League final with a really terrible team. And then he goes to Liverpool, has a few naff seasons, yeah. And now look at him. He's won the Champions League and the Premier League, the 2 biggest trophies in the world.
Exactly. Absolutely.
God knows what's next for him.
Well,
I would hate to. Do you know what? The one person I'd hate to be right now, Jurgen Klopp. Do you know what I mean? What's next for him?
I think the thing is, I think he's just got to keep Liverpool up there because since Alex Ferguson with Man United, there hasn't been a consistent team. And even though Guardiola's won it 2 years in a row, we haven't had that level of,
City weren't that good last season.
Well, this is what I mean. This is what I said. I said this earlier. I said the Liverpool from last year were a better team. Well, we're not a better team, but performed better. But that was a gelling year, wasn't it? To go this year and go, look, we're going to go for it. But
last season, I was saying this earlier. I have no doubts that Liverpool didn't know what eggs to put in what basket. Do we put it in the Champions League? Do we put it in the Premier League? Exactly. When they started to lose in the Premier League, they were like, okay, we need to go for the Champions League now. And now this is the problem City are having. Do we go for the Premier League? Or, well, we've done that. Do we go for the Champions League? Oh, but now Liverpool are going to win the Premier League and we don't like Liverpool. Do you know what I mean? It's an impossible question.
But you know what? I think you're talking about managers, but you know what? It's down to the owners. And I think this is where owners are so important to a football club. You look at the teams that are doing well, they have brilliant owners. You look at the teams, you look at Arsenal at the moment, a team that
But you look at you're right. You look at Arsenal, have what, millions, right? Millionaire owners, like incredibly rich. But you look, and I hate, my feelings on Wolves. They have incredibly rich owners, probably not as even as much as Arsenal, in like when you put all their stakeholders together. But yet the money is put in the right place.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of other teams. Like, I'm sure, I just don't think the Newcastle ownership is going to go brilliantly well because
they'll just go, let's just go and buy a shitload of players that we think are going to be the best. And that was Man City's problem for years. Individuals. I mean,
but now they're having
one of the best players I've ever seen in the Premier League, but he didn't thrive in a team like that because he was thrown in with other players that bought Balotelli. It's just like the recruitment of Liverpool. Like, they went and got a Mane. I mean, a player that was doing well at Southampton. I mean, everyone rated him, but would you have said would you have said when he joined Liverpool he would turn into one of the best players in the world? Never. They went and got Salah, a player who had flopped at Chelsea. They were like, we'll go and get him. Even at Roma that season before he joined Liverpool, he wasn't doing anything miraculous over there. But they went and got him because they were like,
the player that season for Roma was Edin Dzeko.
Exactly. But they were like, well, this player looks all right. Andy Robertson. I mean, the biggest thing one of the biggest bargains ever. But they went and got him because Klopp was like, you know what? He may not be something amazing at the moment, but he's the type of fullback that I want. I'm going to get him. I'm going to bring him in. He's going to go up and down the flanks. The only reason, Wijnaldum. I mean, this is what I mean. The recruitment is so good, and there are so.
But we've been really lucky. We've been really lucky because when Liverpool's recruitment has been so good close to home, like look at the players they bought, like Wijnaldum, Van Dijk, Mane, Robertson. I mean, the list I said Mane, but the list goes on. Whereas City, you can't deny City's recruitment hasn't been fantastic. Look, where the bloody hell's Company come from? This central defensive midfielder who comes into one of the best Premier League defenders ever. Yaya Toure, who flopped big time at Barcelona.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? We've had the best of both worlds. At the moment, we're seeing one shine brighter than the other, but 2 years ago, we saw the other shine brighter than the other. So despite not having one of the best players in the world in these teams, we have probably the two best recruited teams in the world playing in England. And that's just good. That's only going to make the English Premier League better and the English leagues better.
And this is what I mean. It's all down to your board and your recruitment. Because I have to admit, you look at where I think and you may disagree with me on this, but one of the best teams I've seen for recruitment in the last 4 or 5 years is Leicester. And do you know what? You look at the quality of the players that they have brought from nowhere. Kante from Conk, this French second division, they went and got him. Mahrez, who was playing for Le Havre, they went and got him. Jamie Vardy was playing for Fleetwood. They went and, was it? No, I don't think, it might be Fleetwood. I can't remember where he was before, but they brought him in from there for nothing. Ndidi, I mean, where has he come from? They went and got him. You look back to West Ham when they went and got Dimitri Payet. I mean, that's probably the best recruitment West Ham have ever done. You look at players.
Not Sebastian Haller, is he?
Well, it's not exactly, but like this is where they've recruited. Even someone like Christian Fuchs. He's not the best in the league there's ever been. But that year when Leicester won the league, he was brilliant. But they brought him in from out of nowhere. Shinji Okazaki that year was so underrated. He came in from nowhere.
How many years did I say I wanted Okazaki to sign for Burnley?
I remember you saying that because they've used their scouting systems. That comes down to the board being the recruitment. Arsenal's recruitment is hopeless. Arsenal's recruitment, David Luiz, hopeless. Mkhitaryan, rubbish.
Well, you say that. I believe I believe that if they got to him sooner, that Pablo Mari would have been a good signing. But I just think he's a bit too old now. But
Yeah,
do you know
this is
what?
what I mean, like,
Guendouzi has the ability to be a good player, but he has the attitude of an absolute idiot. Guendouzi has all the ability in the world, but he has the worst attitude I think I've ever seen in a footballer.
But I even throw Chelsea into that mix. Our recruitment's been horrendous. Bakayoko, I mean, don't even get me started. Like Danny Drinkwater, like hopeless. Like last few years, our recruitment has been awful, and that's ever since the new recruitment's come in, which I think now it's changed.
But again, you talk about recruitment, but like Werner, well, obviously you've signed Werner. Is that down to recruitment or is that just down to obviousness?
Well, you've got to go for him, ain't you, and that kind of thing. But like,
whereas I can see, I can never see Chelsea just signing a player from like a random club and it being him being a really good player. Whereas I can see City or Liverpool signing a player from, I don't know, the Belgium 5th division at 18 years old, and he ends up being like Belgium captain. Do you know what I mean?
How many players have we seen at Man City? I mean, as much as I think City's recruitment in the last few years has been good, but this is because they've got a manager that knows how to handle this. When they first got the money, they had Mark Hughes, and let's be honest, Mark Hughes hadn't seen more than £50 in his life. They were sitting there going, I've got all this bloody money. What am I going to do? Oh, let's spend 50. I mean, they didn't, but let's spend 50 million on Craig Bellamy. Let's go and spend 34 million on this load of rubbish and that kind of thing.
Joe.
Joe, let's go spend 30 million on him. He scored 3 goals in Brazil. But like, now they've got a player that can now they've got a manager that knows how to handle like the money. But even it's the smaller clubs. And I'll go back to this because I have a connection to Wolves. Wolves, they went and they were like, okay, look, we're going into the Premier League. We need some experience. They went and got João Moutinho. They went and got Rui Patricio to plug some holes. But they also, before that, they were in the Championship. Yes, it was unfair on the Championship, and it wasn't a miracle they went up because of the amount of money. It would have been embarrassing if they didn't. But they went and got Ruben Neves for £20 million. If they were going to sell him now, he would cost. I don't think he's worth this much. But in the inflated market that these players are going for now, they could easily get 80 million for him.
Put it into context. The first season Wolves got up, they bought Neves for what was it, 15 million?
21.4 million.
How much?
21.4 million was how much they paid for Ruben Neves.
Bloody hell! And do you know what? And like that's their star midfielder, right? That got them promoted. There's no doubt about it. He got them promoted. And when we got promoted under Dyche for the first time, our star midfielder Scott Arfield was on a free from Huddersfield because he couldn't get in the bloody Huddersfield team. It shows you how much football changes.
But this
Do you
is
know what I mean? And there was 3 years between the promotions.
This is where you
4 years.
look like Burnley, and I'll let you have a chat about this. But from my perspective, what Sean Dyche has done with the recruitment is good. But I sit there and I don't know whether you feel this as well. I feel because I do think that from my perspective, looking on at it, I do think there's a bit of money that's tucked behind the sofa in Burnley by the owner, which he could give to Dyche. I think if Dyche had actually decent funds, he could make Burnley into a wicked team. Because look at what he's done with, no disrespect, but a crooked Aaron Lennon on the wing. You look
what he's done. Ashley Westwood, one of the most disliked players in recent Aston Villa history, couldn't get in the Villa team, and he's made him into possibly one of the most obvious answer to this is Ashley Barnes, gone from scoring 5 goals a season in the Championship for Brighton to scoring 13 goals in a Premier League season and a bicycle kick and pissing off loads of Aberdeen fans. Like Deitch, this annoys me because
Do you think your recruitment, well, not your recruitment, but your owner is backing Dyche enough after all these years? Because Burnley, you're getting to a point now where you are a solidified club.
You say that. Well, no, you say that, but I still believe, bar Norwich, we have the worst. Oh, I hate saying this, but like the side with the least ability, but we have the side with possibly the most belief in the Premier League. I'd never believe otherwise, that we don't. There's a team that has more belief than we do, and if you look at Deitch and so he kept us up when he joined, when Eddie Howe left halfway through that first season. He kept us up. Then the second season, Charlie Austin was sold. Everyone was petrified because obviously we didn't know what Deitch was capable of. And he got the best of Danny Ings and Sam Vokes. Like Sam Vokes, who had scored 6 goals for Burnley at that point on loan, and Danny Ings, who'd never played 90 minutes for us. Do you know what I mean? And they both went on to score 20 plus goals for us that championship season. And then we go up, sign a few players, don't sign enough players, in my opinion, go down again. But that season after that, they gave Deitch full reign. He said, I want Andre Gray. I want Joey Barton. I'm trying to think I want to sign Michael King permanently. We do. And look, we start off really badly, but then we go 23 games unbeaten, win the title convincingly. And I think one of the best seasons of my life. We go up, Sean Dyche is like, I want Stephen Defoe. We get Stephen Defoe. Oh, wait, the season before, sorry, I want James Tarkowski. I get James Tarkowski. But now, I don't think Dyche goes in and says, I want Peter Crouch. I think he goes, oh, if you can get Peter Crouch on a free, definitely. Do you know what I mean? Definitely put that guy on a contract. But I can't believe Dyche goes in there in January, says sell Sam Vokes, sell Stephen Ward, sign Peter Crouch. Do you know what I mean?
I agree with that, but this is what I mean.
But on the other hand, there's a lot of hate going around for Mike Garlick at the moment, the Burnley chairman. But we are, I can't tell you, we must be 11th in the Premier League at the moment.
Yeah, you are.
We have
a bit above Arsenal if they had log on today.
Exactly. We have a brand new training ground, a state-of-the-art training ground that we've never had. We have a youth academy that's starting to bring through prospects. Dwight McNeil, Max Thompson, Mace Goodridge. We have players going on loan to the Championship who are under 20. Do you know what I mean? We've never had this in my life. Well, hold on. We have a women's team. I know that sounds a stupid thing to say, but that's because of Dyche. He pushed to get a women's team.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there are all these millions that all these Burnley fans say, but I wish the board would be honest with Dyche and say, you have this to spend. You've built this for us already. Do this for us now. But on the other hand, Dyche gets the best out of any team he has in front of him. And I can't say there's many managers that have done that.
No, and I do agree with you. And what he's done, to get you into Europe that year was the most incredible
on a season where we sold our best striker. And I mean, Burnley fans are very dubious about Andre Gray because he was very lazy in a Burnley shirt. And now Watford fans have that same problem. And we bought in Chris Wood, who had a very shaky start to the season. And I mean, look, I can't tell anything. My biggest example is Ashley Barnes, the most average Championship striker, into one of the most venomous. I hate it sounds stupid, but one of the most clinical strikers in that Premier League season. It's weird to say, but that's why Ashley Barnes is loved by Burnley fans, because he just puts everything into a game, and he only does that because Dyche is his manager.
Well, and this is what is so important, because your board appoint your managers. Burnley, and this is what
Do you know what? I never really knew who Sean Dyche was. I knew who he was, but I couldn't say I knew he scored a goal for Chesterfield in the FA Cup semi-final, probably when I was like 1 or 2 years old. But that's all I knew about him. I knew he did the FA Cup draws every now and then.
Yeah.
And one night he did the FA Cup draw at the night we sacked Eddie Howe. Well, no, it was a couple of nights after we sacked Eddie Howe, and we had Terry Pashley as our caretaker manager. And I was crying out for Terry Pashley to get the job full time because he'd done such a good job getting us to actually pass the ball properly. But I did not believe that night when I would never have believed that Sean Dyche, who was doing the FA Cup draw that night, the next day would become Burnley manager. And the next day, I would openly say, I went to Twitter and Facebook and said, why is this man taking over our football club? He's never done anything in his life. I look at him now, 7.5 years later.
And also, another thing is that season that you went down after one season in the Premier League, do you know what? That could have been any person in football, if they had sacked Sean Dyche then, would have gone, fair enough. But do you know what? They stuck with him, and he's turned them into a solidified Premier League team. But that is why, and this goes back to Liverpool again, your board is so important. You look at what's happening at West Ham, mate, because the board don't care, and your board is so important. And yes, I look at Burnley and go, I think Mike Garlick could, from my point of view, I look at it and go, I think he could pump a bit more money into Burnley to help them out a little bit. But then I'm not looking at it from a Burnley fan's point of view. And also, I come from a big, rich club mentality, which is different to your mentality. No disrespect.
But the thing is, I think the same as you. I never think there's a lot of Burnley fans who think there's a lot of money to be spent. I can't believe that's true. I can't believe that's true at all. But I believe there's more to be spent than 3.5 million on Jay Rodriguez. Do you know what I mean? I believe, we spent 15 to 18 million on Chris Wood. Why can't we do it again now? We've been in the Premier League, finished 7th, finished 11th. Do you know what I mean? We're not like Bournemouth, who are finished 16th, 17th, 15th. We're finishing 11th, 12th, 8th, 7th, 9th. Do you know what I mean?
You're solidified now. But like your board have been brilliant, and
it's such a love-hate thing at the moment. Like, I'm so grateful to them, but also I'm trying not to get greedy because realistically, the size of Burnley, I mean, you think like Burnley Stadium is twice the size of Bournemouth, but you think Bournemouth is about 10 times the size of Burnley, like town-wise.
Absolutely.
You think it's insane. Like when we went to the playoff final, we took 3/4 the population of our town to Wembley that day.
Unbelievable.
I know. That's why I try not to get too carried away with this board rubbish. Because why would you? And like Dyche came out and said tonight, like 7.5 years and we've only had one disagreement. I think that's pretty good on my books.
Well,
I mean, yeah, completely.
I think he has, and I think your board have been. And I mean, but I think most of the success, if you're being honest, is down to Dyche. I think Dyche is
no doubts.
Absolute miracles. But that's because the board have allowed him to just go. I mean, you look at West Ham; they just sign anyone who scored a goal in an under-20s World Cup and go, "Oh, he'll come."
Them and Villa, they are the World Cup signing teams. They see a player in the World Cup and they sign them.
But Sean, but do you know what? Mike Garlick's probably gone. Look, I'm not fucking football manager. This guy knows what he's doing. I'm just going to let him have free reign. And yes, there probably is an element that he could probably put a bit more money in. But if something's working, don't fix it. And at the end of the day, like, I don't want to sound disrespectful to Burnley fans watching, and you as well, Ollie. But are you actually going to do any better than a 7th place finish? Probably not.
But the difference is like. And it's going to get harder the whole time every team gets a new billionaire owner. But solidifying that 7th place is the challenge, or solidifying the 7th to 10th place. Do you know what I mean?
I think there's a man out there. It's going to be Sean Dyche that'll do it, but that's because your board is so important, and we go back to Liverpool winning the league. there's a lot of factors as to why Liverpool won the league. Yes, a world-class team. Yes, a world-class manager. But the board have been exceptional at Liverpool.
Yeah.
You know, the board have been brilliant. And they came under a lot of scrutiny when they first came in. But you know what? The board have been brilliant. You go back to, like I said earlier, Coutinho being sold, and they were like, we're not going to keep the money for ourselves. If that was Arsenal that had done that, that money wouldn't have been seen. Yeah, and also, as much as I love Abramovich, if Chelsea, but actually, we have done that because Abramovich hasn't actually kept the Hazard and the Morata money. He's stored it up and also kept the money that we haven't had for the transfer ban. And he's gone, right, okay, we've got all this money from the signings that we've made, from the sales that we've had. We've also got the money that we haven't spent in the last 2 windows. We're going to have a fucking massive sesh of a transfer window, and all the money is going towards, and that is a good owner. And you will not win a league, you will not do very well if you don't have a good owner. And you look at all the clubs that are doing really well, fantastic owners. You look at the clubs that are lower than expectations. I don't want people to feel like I'm picking on them, but the 2 clear examples of shit owners in this league are Arsenal and West Ham.
Villa.
Villa, another one. But Villa have had shit owners for years and that kind of thing.
Different kind of shit owners.
But that is why they've fallen down. So, yeah, three examples: Villa, West Ham, Arsenal.
Right. Well, we're coming up to the hour and a half, so I'm going to leave you. We're going to do, because we did this last week, we both finished on asking each other a question. So I'm going to ask you, on your hand on heart, do you think Frank Lampard will ever win you the Premier League? Hand on heart, like truth. Not do you want him to? Do you think he will?
Do you know what? Hand on heart, at the moment, I can't say definitely yes. But I feel the style of play is a lot better.
I feel it's a step in the right direction.
I think I agree with you there. I think he's developing.
He's changing Chelsea's reputation for sure.
And
it's becoming Chelsea used to be where Liverpool used to be, are where Arsenal at the moment, where no one could stand them. But I like Chelsea now. I like Lampard. I like Kovacic. I like Giroud. Do you know what I mean? I like Chelsea.
But like at the moment, what is important is that we get this top 4. And you know
this
what?
This is the make or break, isn't it?
This Chelsea squad are all auditioning at the moment because Lampard has made it quite clear that he means business next year. Now he's got the transfers. And you know what? Mason Mount has passed the audition. He was one player I was worried about. But I think Lampard's probably sitting there going, yeah, it'd be nice to get Kai Havertz, but...
Do you know what? I think Mason Mount's still not quite there. I think he's been disappointing. I think obviously he had a lot of hype behind him. I think he started off too well.
And I think as well, I think another thing, and this goes back to, I always remember you saying this about Burnley, what Chelsea fans love, we don't necessarily need the best, but we just want players that work hard and play for the badge. And that is why players like Bakayoko failed. That is why players like Morata failed.
Even like someone successful like Costa, he didn't want to play for Chelsea, did he?
Not towards the end, and that is why a lot of Chelsea fans sort of went, do you know what? He's a world-class player. On paper, we don't want to get rid of him, but go if you don't want to play for this club. And that is why a player like Gary Cahill, yes, from the outside, everyone hated Gary Cahill and was like, why is everyone bigging up Gary Cahill? But Gary Cahill played with his heart on that badge. Azpilicueta is another one, plays with the heart on his badge, the badge on his heart.
His heart on his back.
Getting token. But like it's stuff like that, and that is what is nice. Mount does that, and that is why Mount will always be loved more than Barkley, because Barkley just plays like
he was awful tonight.
Mate, this is what frustrates me. I know we're going well. I don't want to go over the time, but what frustrates me about Barkley is that he's got ability, but he just doesn't know how to use it.
Exactly.
Mount will play with his heart on his sleeve, and he's passing those auditions to be like, you know what? You don't need Kai Havertz next year. Just give me another year, and I will develop. And it is a big step because he's never played Premier League football, and to go and play Premier League football for a big club straight away is difficult. And Lampard trusts him, but I would rather spend the money on a big centre back and a big goalkeeper than Kai Havertz. And going back to the question, not yet, but if given backing and giving time, I think Lampard could. Because do you know what? It's the same as Sean Dyche, like you at Burnley. It's the same as Klopp. He loves this club, and passion goes a long way in football. You don't have to
100%.
It's the passion, and Lampard has got that. And Conte had the passion. That's why he won the league. Ancelotti, even though he didn't show it a lot, he had passion. We won the league. Mourinho at the time, passion, won the league. You look at back all these Premier League managers that won the league. Ranieri that year didn't. Something that you don't have to show it. You've just got to have it in your belly. That is what
I agree completely.
That is what wins you and gets you to places. So not yet, and I'm not getting overexcited, but he will do his darndest, and it's too early to say whether he can. But the question I'm going to ask you before we wrap it up is, how much money? I want to go back to the owner thing, but how much money does Mike Garlick need to pump into Burnley for Sean Dyche to keep you in the league next year?
Realistically, to keep us in the league, I would say to keep us in the league, 10 million. But to see us replace Stallhorst, I don't think Lowton's good enough. So someone to replace Lowton and Bardsley getting on a bit, someone to a new right back, 5 million, right? So like a young 5 million, a young player for 5 million, like that Joachim Marler that we're interested in. Mm-hmm. We need a new young centre back because Gibson can toss off to Middlesbrough. Another 5 million, I'd say. Just someone young, just to sit on the bench for now, because I don't think Jimmy Dunn's quite ready. So that's 10 million already. Winger, we need a winger. If we don't sign a winger, we're in big trouble. I'd say that's another 10 million because they've got to start. And I'd say we probably need another different kind of centre forward. So I'd say it's another 7.5 million. So I would say to progress our team now, because obviously we've just had the bollocks of coronavirus, and I mean that in the wide sense of bollocks. I would say probably 27 to 37 million pounds, which is a lot of money for us. But I mean, I love Rodriguez. You know how much I love Jay Rodriguez.
Oh, mate.
But he's not young. That's the one thing he's not. He's not young. I love Phil Bardsley. Not young. Love Ben Mee. Not young. Love Jack Cork, who's his 31st birthday. Today. Not young. Robbie Brady can't walk for more than 10 minutes in his life. I'm not saying we need to spend 37 million, but if we want to get further, I'd say probably do actually. So 27 million, and I'd be happy, I think.
Yeah.
But unless we get these weird bargains, I can't see any less sorting our problems out. And not that we have problems, just things that need to be sorted for next season, like probably every team does.
I think that's probably about right. I think it's gonna be difficult for a lot of these football clubs to.
Yeah, the thing is, every team is lower. Like, it doesn't matter how rich your owner is, you're going to be lacking on money because of the coronavirus. I wouldn't be surprised to see teams like us and Sheffield United not spend a penny.
Well, yeah. But I think
it's not ideal, but we don't really have might not have much choice.
And please sell Joe Hart to Arsenal. It'll be the funniest thing.
I saw that. I couldn't believe it. He's gone. Anyway, what a note to leave on. Joe Hart leaving.
Timo Werner, baby. Come on, you Blues. What a
If
week.
there was a song to sing about Joe Hart leaving, I'd probably sing it, but I don't know if there is. Anyway.
England's number 9. England's number 9.
We've covered absolutely everything tonight, mate. Honestly. If there was something in football to cover, we've covered it.
Brilliant. And send out the positive messages. The Premier League is back. Black Lives Matter. Come on, football.
Yeah, just don't be an idiot. Like, go and educate yourself. If you're sitting there not agreeing with us on Black Lives Matter, you need to go and pick up a book or pick up your laptop or your tablet and just do some Googling. Go and talk to your next door neighbour and have a coffee and talk to them about it, because they probably know a bit more than you do. Mm-hmm. Understand that your neighbour is an important person in your life. And when I say neighbour, I mean someone in your community, someone in your country, someone in the world. Doesn't matter the colour of their skin, doesn't matter who they are, doesn't matter what their name is, doesn't matter what religion they believe in, doesn't matter their sexuality. There's got to be something else. Doesn't matter how tall they are, doesn't matter what football team they support, doesn't matter if they don't like football. Mm-hmm. Just extend your arm out, be a neighbour in the broad sense of being a neighbour.
Exactly. I think that's the perfect way to end it, Ollie. We're going to have to change this podcast to 451 metres after 4th of July.
Yeah. 451 plus metres. And what can I say for the number one socially distanced football podcast, and the number one socially distanced anti-racism podcast, and the number one socially distanced therapy podcast.
Timo Werner, baby.
Wait, imagine when social distancing ends and we're just 442.
We can't call ourselves 442. We have to do 4411 because that's the other Burnley play.
We have to be like the Diamond. Anyway, anyone stay safe. Love your neighbour, and I don't know. I sang Ashley Barnes last time, so you need to sing a song this time.
Super, thank you, have fun. Hey!